I want to share an experience. Yeah, recently I got interested what exactly was my life like when I was like 16 or 17, and I am a lucky person who had been writing a lot of diaries in her life, so I could go back to it 8 years ago. Yeah, and I must say that this was I can't even describe how much of a priceless experience this was. I don't think I've ever read those. Those are the three diaries that I wrote when in the period between being 16 to 18, something like that. So 2 first grades of high school. Yeah, we go to high school when we're 16 in Poland. And I must say that this was very captivating. I read all 3 notebooks in like one breath, almost. And wow. Well, I mostly read this because I wanted to go back to some things and see if I remember them well, and see how I managed to move on from some things, and also to check if what I envy of myself from those days is real. And I want to share that writing a diary, especially in your teenage years, is super precious, especially when then you're in your 20s, and well, memory is very subjective, I think, and when you remember some things, then you're maybe not subjective, but very selective. I think your brain chooses to remember some things and to not remember other things, and your memory doesn't always have to show real facts. It can be an interpretation of your memories of things that happened. And wow, I look very weird in this light, but yeah, my ceiling lamp is still broken. And you might think that if you write a diary in your teenage years, then when you get back to it, it only makes you feel shitty because you remember all the horrible stuff that happened to you when you were 17. But no. I mean, if you read it at a proper, you know, with a proper gap, with a proper distance of time, then when you already totally moved on from those things, then you will just, then the only experience you get is seeing new things as an adult, and seeing like things that you weren't aware of back then. And yeah, and me now as a, let's say, an educated person, especially when it comes to like development psychology and pedagogy and shit, I see how much I changed within the first months of high school. It was just this transformation from you know, from the early adolescent stage to the later adolescent stage. And I know from books and a little bit from myself that there is this kind of transformation, that you stop being an emotional mess and you start seeing things more maturely. But seeing this note by note in your diary is amazing. I saw how much my self-esteem raised, I think, got up anyway. And I started reading a lot when I was 16, and it was so visible in my notes because I started using a different language, a more developed language, and I'm reading this and I'm like, Wow! I also really wanna read you one thing. That was the 13th one. Wrong notebook! God, where was this? This might interest you actually. But where was that? That was the beginning of the school year. It's August. Oh, yeah. Of course it's written in Polish, but I'll try to translate it right away. Okay, so yesterday I was down. I had a really bad mood. At English classes, we were supposed to know each other, get to know each other better, and the lady set us up in pairs, and we were supposed to talk in English. And I was with, here's the name of a guy I liked from my grade, maybe from my class, maybe it's better not say that name. And I was glad, but that didn't last long, because it turned out that I cannot make a sentence in English. And I thought I deserved an A. I got a B at the end of middle school, and I was really upset about that. Dreamer. As always. I even wrote a poem, but I need to correct it. Okay, I wrote like a few poems in my life, and I cannot remember writing that one. Interesting. Anyway, yeah. When I was 16, I just couldn't make a sentence, a simple sentence in English language, and I wasn't able to talk in English. And here I am now, 8 years later, making videos in English, spontaneous videos in English. Hi! Yeah, so if you're 16 and you think that you're really bad at English, it'll get better. Just saying. Where was I? Yeah, so it was really interesting to see this gradient that happened. This transformation. Of course, it took a little bit of help from my friend and from myself also, of course. No one will do anything for me, right? Especially when it comes to self-esteem. Anyway, this is a really fulfilling experience to go back to all of this, and on one hand see that I was such a child, but on the other hand I really had a laugh many times at what I wrote, because some conclusions, some metaphors and some comparisons were just insane sometimes, and I was like, what? But it was genius at times. I thought I didn't really differ much right now from who I was when I was 16 or 17, but it turned out that I changed a lot for the better, of course. And the main thing, one of the main things that made me read this was the fact that I really envied some things from the time when I was 16, because I thought I was a super organized person back then. Like, I always had matching nails and matching everything. I was always looking well, and everything was set up perfectly in my outfit. At least I thought so back then. Now when I look back at how I was, what I was wearing, it was a bit weird, but it wasn't bad. at least I really paid attention to what colors match and stuff. Yeah, and I was attending music school back then, and I was somehow coping with both schools. Sometimes I was at school for like 10 hours. Wow, insane. And I remember that, and I also remembered myself of being really organized, and I just, like, I had everything together, and that's not the case. It turned out that I was a mess pretty much. I mean, of course I had matching nails and I was wearing nice things and looking well, but that's not everything. I had really bad grades at school, and I actually remember that. And also my what was happening in my head sometimes was just a disaster, and I was thinking, and I also remembered that I was thinking of resigning from the music school. I graduated, but eventually, but I remember that this was the moment of a huge doubt, because it was hard to go to high school and also to a music school and pass everything in both when I was never a good student. I'm actually proud of myself. I'm admiring myself that I somehow managed to do it. But well, I studied on 2 fields last year. Like I wasn't doing 2 majors, so I guess that's a similar thing. And I also succeeded, so duh. So my point in this video is that first of all, you can always get better at English. But I was always good at English. I was always like one of the best students in class, I think. But I was just lazy. That's obvious. But in high school I always had A's in English, and I was definitely like the VIP of the class. I mean, I was probably not the best, but one of the best, definitely. One of the few best students in class. I feel like I'm bragging right now. And anyway, another point of this video is that if you're in your teenage years now, or if there's something really confusing or bad or really good happening in your life now, then maybe, even if you're not much of a writer, because I'm not either, try to write it down, because in a few years when you go back to it, it can really make your life richer in some way, and make you realize many things, and make you feel better with yourself. Because when I saw that I wasn't this super organized when I was 16, that I'm probably more organized right now, it made me feel way better about myself. And yeah, and I feel like I developed really, yeah, in a good way, and also a lot. So yeah. And I totally gotta go right now, because I'll be late at my boyfriend's house. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It was another ramble video, but I just feel like doing a rambling video just every now and then. Yeah, so that's it for today. It was a bonus video probably. If it wasn't, then I'm sorry. I don't know. Maybe I won't have time to record more. Yeah, so I hope you like this video. Subscribe and I'm going on as if you did. And see you in the next one. Bye. Ow!